to give the prosecutor useful information. Their statements won't be used against them in a later criminal proceedings. Most proffer agreements allow the prosecutor to introduce statements that were made during plea negotiations if a defendant testimony was not consistent with their statements, or if the defense lawyer attempts to challenge evidence that contradicts statements. The statements will be used to impeach a defendant. Okay, all right. I'm trying to break it down in my mind. So when I read that and I interpret, Pooh Shiesty would be in a position where he would have to cooperate. He would have to snitch if everybody else didn't say the same thing. You get what I mean? So like, say he was like, oh, it was 3 guns. Nah, I had the pink gun, he had the purple gun, and he had the yellow gun, right? And he put that in the proffer because he's pleading guilty to 1 gun. He ain't pleading guilty to all 3. Say there's one nigga who says, I didn't have no gun, right? Now, again, this is clearly structured. You know what I mean? Like, again, like all these niggas pled guilty at the same time. So, like, they all basically just agreed to it. Now, this is where it gets into this technicality shit, because technically, if you're saying anything against someone else, they call it snitching. But is it snitching if y'all have agreed upon it? Like, yo, you admit to this, or you admit to this, and I admit to this. I don't know. Okay. Wait, what do y'all say? What do y'all say? Hey, no, give me some feedback. Give me some, like, again, bro, I really don't give a fuck what this is, but I do see how stupid being a gangster is. Somebody be like, yes, it's still snitching. Bro, y'all got to stop with this, bro. Y'all got to stop. Like, this is still snitching. So you're telling me that if I'm a fucking superstar and they catch us with 10 guns in the car and some weed, and there's 5 niggas in the car, including me, and you know, and the prosecutor basically says, listen, you're not walking scotch-free. You gotta, we'll come to a deal with you, but you gotta claim to something. Through back channels or through lawyers, I talk to everybody else. I'm the fucking star. Yo, you take those 2 guns, you take those 2 guns, you take those 3, you take those 3. I'm only copping out to the weed. But I'm going to quote-unquote cooperate because, and I'm gonna just lay it out just like how y'all going to lay it out. This is structured. You get what I mean? Like, bro, like, are you snitching if you don't, like, you said something that everybody else agreed with? I thought snitching was saying something that nobody else knew or nobody else said. This is why being a gangster is fucking retarded. Everybody said, nah. You see, y'all have, I'm going to be honest, and 6ix9ine is my friend. But what 6ix9ine did is actually telling. That's actually snitching. It actually is. And what I mean by it, now you can complicate it by saying what they did do to him this and third. Okay, cool. But what I'm talking about just the legality term of it. The legality term of it is that 6ix9ine, everybody else was charged. 6ix9ine was the first person to plead guilty. He pled guilty immediately, and he basically probably did a proffer, right? And also got offered a 5K letter to say he would tell every single thing that ever happened that he won't get charged. Like he can't be charged later, and that he can only face a certain amount of time. The problem with what 6ix9ine did, nobody else wanted to do that. You know why nobody else wanted to do that? Because 6ix9ine, even though he was the nigga with the money, they didn't look at him like the kingpin. They wanted to get Mel Murder the fuck out of here because he's a high-ranking member. They wanted to get Shotty the fuck out of here. Shotty was like facing attempted murders in other places. Shotty was facing mad shootings. Shotty had like 5 or 6 shootings like that cops thought he did. So they couldn't wait to get these niggas out. So in Shotty's like mind, no nigga, don't take no fucking plea. Because that's sinking me. Like, if you're going to tell them what I did, you know what I mean? What Bobby Shmurda did was, hey, I'll take a certain amount that everybody comes out. It's just way how you structure it. You get me? Okay, let me keep reading. Statements made during any plea discussion when a lawyer has the authority to prosecute. The discussions that result in a guilty plea are not admissible against the defendant who made the plea or participated in plea discussions. Simple terms. A proffer interview is a meeting between, okay, you can't see it, my bad. The criminal defendant or someone who's under investigation. Normally, this meeting is conducted as the U.S. Attorney's Office during the meeting with a federal prosecutor and law enforcement agents. The defense has their own legal representation. This meeting is usually covered with a limited immunity agreement where the primary purpose is exchange with the prosecutor verbal or written documentation such as records or materials that could be useful to prosecution. So, okay, let me give you a breakdown of what they're saying. Okay. Yo, there's a big federal gang murder that happened at the corner store. We know you deleted the video, or I don't know, like I don't know. Say you work at a corner store and somebody texted you like, yo, delete that fucking video or you're next type shit. You get me? You delete the video. Right? Now, that video is actually proof that there was actually a crime that committed. Right? Now, you're not a part of the crime because like you were just working at the fucking corner store. They might bring you in for a profit to be like, yo, give us a video. You'll be like, I ain't got a video. Okay, so what happened to the video? Well, you told me to delete it. Okay, what proof you have that you told me to delete it? Well, I got text messages. All right, give us a text message. We won't charge you a part of this thing because what you're going to give is going to be evidence against them. Do you get what I mean? I feel like y'all don't even give a fuck about this. Y'all stuck in y'all ways. All right, anyway. During the meeting, the defendant is expected to tell the prosecutor all the information they know about the federal offense and anyone else who is involved. See, so this is the thing. Is this snitching? So essentially what a proffer ends up being is a chance to get immunity. But also, I don't know. I gotta get an attorney to talk about this shit, man. Anyway, all right. I'll just keep reading. They're also expected to not make and blah, blah, minimize any involvement, blah, blah. Typically, a proffer is made with the understanding prosecutor would grant an immunity or a favorable plea. Frequently, a federal prosecutor won't even offer immunity or plea bargain without a proffer in place. See? Okay, that's important. Frequently, let me put this here. Frequently, a prosecutor won't even offer immunity or a plea bargain without a proffer in place. And the proffer is just admitting what you did. And it looks like, this isn't for immunity. You get me? Now, I could tell you this as a fact. And I know this. When 6ix9ine sat down with the fucking federal prosecutor, when he did his shit, they told him, if we didn't charge you for some shit that you know you did, tell us now, and you'll never get charged for it. By the way, why do you think it got brought up in 6ix9ine's case that he used to beat his baby mama's ass? Because you got to say everything you ever fucking did right now. And see, 6ix9ine could talk about him beating his baby mama's ass. Like, he can't ever get charged for it. He said it when he was sitting down writing out this thing that he was going to snitch. You get me? So, like, he has an immunity for everything he admitted to. Do you get what I mean? Anyway, it's not unusual for disagreements to come up later about specific terms about the immunity or plea bargain offered. This is crucial for the defense attorney and prosecutor to reach an agreement about okay. All right. Okay. Let me go back to the document. So this is the document. The United States Attorney for the Southern District of Florida and Lantra Williams enter into the following agreement. This is a plea agreement, by the way. Let me make sure y'all can see a plea agreement. The defendant agrees to plead guilty to one count of the superseding indictment, which charges the following: with conspiracy to possess firearms in furtherance of a violent and drug trafficking crimes in violation of blah, blah, blah. The United States agrees to dismiss the remaining counts as to this defendant after sentencing. Okay? Okay. This is where you could kind of get like, normally they would have sealed, if you were snitching, they would have sealed this shit. But I mean, I guess there's no reason to seal it because everybody else pled guilty. But like, they would seal this shit and basically put it in terminology to threaten him like, yo, if you don't participate to help them niggas get found guilty, we're taking the shit back, right? But it says the defense is aware that the court will impose a sentence after considering the advisory federal sentencing guidelines and policy statements, aka the sentencing guidelines. Defense acknowledges and understands that the court will compute an advisory sentence under blah 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 blah. Like, one thing I'll say about this plea agreement, it says nothing that the defendant had to agree to testify for them to uphold the plea agreement. Usually when somebody's snitching in the plea agreement, it says, if you don't, to the best of your knowledge, help us solve this case, whether it's testifying or giving information on other people, we will not, like, we could rip this plea agreement up. You get me? And this is the actual plea agreement for Pooh Shiesty. None of it says that. You can see it says the defendant is aware that the sentence, blah blah blah. All right, cool. You'll see nothing about him having to, like, cooperate further. The defendant is aware and understand that the court is required to blah blah. It's just about sentencing guidelines. Yeah. Yeah, see? Yeah, it's just saying that he's basically up to the court to get 20 years in prison for, like, one of the, I guess, the maximum of one of the charges. He acknowledges on his plea, the fine. Yeah, I'm looking at it. It don't really show that, he would have to, like, cooperate further. Like, for example, if one of these guys try to back out, they gonna need the other two to tell on that nigga. Like, no, nigga, no. Like, say one of these guys at the end just, like, say, nah, I'm not agreeing to it, right? They gonna need the other two, if it's really snitching, to be like, oh, I'm getting on the stand. But none of this says that they would have to get on the stand. They just gotta, their proffer, well, this is where it gets fucking complicated. They wouldn't have to get on the stand, but they're gonna, the prosecutor could use their proffer against the other motherfuckers, so they could use their statements. So I guess that's where you kind of look at it as, is it snitching? Because if one of these guys is backed out, they could use Pooh Shiesty's statement against one of the other niggas. But none of the niggas backed out. Like, everybody just agreed to, that's what went on. So, like, I don't even know what niggas is arguing about, honestly. Okay, here we go. The parties agree to recommend, right? So look, this is usually not even there. When somebody's snitching, like in 6ix9ine's case, they didn't recommend nothing in his plea agreement. They said, we will give a recommendation based on how good he snitched. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was the whole thing. Based on how well he helps us out and how well he, cooperates, we will give, and that's the 5K letter. I don't know if I'm trying to make it make sense. That's the 5K letter, where the prosecutor says, this defendant has been such a good boy. He told on everybody. He cooperated and pointed people out. He fucking got on the stand. He did everything he got to do. We suggest you ignore the mandatory minimum, you go below that, and then you give him like 2 years or give him 1 year. You get me? That's the 5K letter. 6ix9ine used that, and that's why he thought he was going to get time served, which he ended up getting like a year or something like that, year and a half, right? But in here, they're already recommending he gets 97 months. How much is 97 months? We could do the math on that. Somebody do the math on that for me? $97 divided by 12 is 8 years. So they're saying give him 8 years. So with 8 years, he was locked up last year. Let's say he's done a year already. So it would be 7 years left. But remember, 8 years, if he does 85%, this times 85%, he would have to do 6.87, or let's call it 6 3/4. He's already done 1. It's possible that even with the max, or if they give him what's recommended, which is a 97 months, Pooh Shiesty would be out of jail in 5 years, so 2027. You get what I mean? This office agrees that it will recommend a sentencing that the court reduce by 2 levels of sentencing guidelines. Okay, so they're basically saying, the sentencing guidelines are pretty usually strict. So they're saying, hey, you should reduce it, blah, 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 da, da, da. Okay, cool. The office. Okay. Yeah, nothing says he got to cooperate. Look, the office, however, will not be required to make this motion if the defendant fails or refuses to make a full and accurate, complete disclosure to probation office of the circumstances around the relevant offenses, blah, blah, blah. The defendant further, blah, blah. He's going to voluntarily immediately forfeit all the property that was used in the crime. Yeah. I'm looking at it. Yeah, the last thing says, if he's like a illegal immigrant, that could be something that could deport him, but he's not, so whatever. Yeah, nothing says snitching. This is the plea agreement, though, okay? Now, there's another document, which is a factual proffer. So what did he actually say? And I'll put it on screen now. So this is exactly what he said. So the factual proffer is the United States Lantrell and the United States and Lantrell Council agree that this case had this case gone to trial, right? This is why it's about a plea, bro. It's not about snitching. Had this case gone to trial, the United States would have proven the following facts, among others, right? Beyond a reasonable doubt. And the facts are sufficient to establish a defendant's guilt as to the following offenses charged in this indictment. From around, oh shit, I gotta make sure I can see it. My bad. From around January 19th or earlier, continuing to at least July 2021 or later, Lantrell Williams participated with Bobby Brown. This is where the names come in. Bobby Brown, that conspired to use or carry firearms during the relation to and possess firearms in furtherance of drug trafficking crimes and crimes of violence. Though Pooh Shiesty's participation in through his participation in a conspiracy, he met, and this is where he mentions the other guy, Jaden DeRosa, while traveling with Bobby Brown and other associates to Miami-Dade County in October 2020. During the course of conspiracy, Pooh Shiesty and the conspirators used social media platforms to discuss the distribution of marijuana, also with access to firearms and ammunition. On the 17th, in Memphis, Tennessee, Pooh Shiesty threw fireworks at a gas station facility. Subsequently, Pooh Shiesty entered a vehicle, which returned to the scene. When the vehicle was operated by Pooh Shiesty, arrived back at the gas station. The occupant of the vehicle discharged a firearm at the business before speeding away. By the way, okay, I'm glad they put this in. This is why it's a factual proffer. Essentially, they sat him down and they said, brother, because you don't want us to charge you for anything in the past, he's not charged for this. So what he's admitting right here, he's not charged for. But it's a crime. Like, nigga, you throwing firecrackers at a fucking gas station and letting your gun off, that's a crime. So he just admits it. So he could never be charged for it ever in life. You feel me? So he's like, so he's saying things that even though he's not charged for, right? Then the other thing is, it says on October 9th, and this is what he's really charged for. October 9th in Bay Harbor, right? In Bay Harbor, Pooh Shiesty, Bobby Brown, and the DeRosa dude and other associates arrived at a meeting to acquire marijuana, codeine, and sneakers. During this meeting, members of the group brandished firearms and assaulted victim number 1 and number 2. Following the assault, the group departed with the scene with marijuana, codeine, and sneakers. On the 30th of May, 2021, in Miami-Dade County, Pooh Shiesty assaulted a victim at the King of Diamonds Gentlemen's Club. The facts described are not intended to be a complete recitation of the facts in this case, and intended to form a basis for the defendant knowingly, willfully, intentional plea of guilt. By the way, I don't think y'all realize, you see this part right here? And this is probably why he pled guilty. Let me scroll up. This is probably exactly why he pled guilty. You killed 2 birds with 1 stone, even though you already caught the other charge. Remember, it's a pending case. He literally admitted to shooting the nigga in King of Diamonds. That's the open case still for him. He pled guilty to the whole shit with the McLaren and the drugs. This is the federal case. But the other case he had was the shooting the security in the club. You see what he did on the proffer? He admitted it. I did it. You know why he admitted it? Because his lawyer is going to use the fact that he admitted it in this proffer to try to get that case thrown out. I hope you guys understand it. Like, it's a lot of legal shit. They're basically offered him like a clean slate because of the conspiracy charge. You get me? They offered him a clean slate, but he got to admit every crime he did. So that's why he's talking about shooting at gas stations. He ain't charged for that. But then he says what he's charged for. The shit with the McLaren, this is the 9th up here, right? But then he also mentions the shit with King of Diamonds, hoping that he gets immunity. And by the way, you see all the signatures here. Right? See all the signatures right here. You got Pooh Shiesty's signature right here at the bottom. Right here at the bottom. It's Pooh Shiesty's signature. Right? Bradford Cohen. This is the guy who Kodak Black calls his daddy. Right? This is the guy who blasted Wacker recently. His name is Law Ronan. Or on Instagram, it's Law Ronan. Right? This is him. And then this is the assistant U.S. State Attorney, the guy who did the interview. Well, this is the guy who runs the office, and then this is the guy who did the interview. Bang, right here. No, never mind. This is the guy who runs the office, and this is the guy who did the interview. Right here. Anyway, yeah. So if you ask me, this was a very calculated plea by Pooh Shiesty, hoping that he could get out of jail quick. So the whole case that he had with shooting a security guard, that should go bye-bye. Hopefully. That's how he planned it. And then he pled guilty to this shit, and they pretty much said, okay, you should get around like 8 years. But with good behavior, which is 15%, so you got to do at least 85% in the feds, right? He's already kind of done 1, right? He's hoping to only do about 5 years from now. And also, that was the recommended, right? The recommended was 97 months. So if they give him what the prosecutor recommended, it's just 5 years. If, for whatever reason, the judge want to give him something less, which usually is unlikely, he could get 4 years. You know what I mean? But it looks like he'll probably get 5. 5 from now is 2020, what's that? 2027? You know, at that point, you're not thinking about music career. You know, even though I still think his music career will be fine. How old is Pooh Shiesty? Let's Google it. Let's Google it. How old is Pooh Shiesty? And by the way, I'm sorry if I'm boring you with some of these things. Pooh Shiesty's 22. He gets out, he's 27. You're still in the game, brother. I'm sorry, you're still in the game. I think he's still in the game.